So this is bad for Alibaba. So what the heck is actually going on in China? Are they really collapsing on themselves? First, I have to apologize for the extremely clickbaity title, but this is exactly the sentiments surrounding China today and over the past few weeks. So we have a broad range of leaked video clips in China showing how drones and even robot dogs are taking over the streets of Shanghai and the supposed Tiananmen 2.0, where people were protesting against the police all the way to the alleged starvation of the normal Chinese citizens. So in short, it's a total train wreck if we were to take whatever we see online at face value. Now, I'm not going to make an extensive comment about the current situation. What I'm going to do is to provide you with my own understanding of what is currently transpiring, and of course, what you should expect of the Chinese economy, and subsequently, how it will affect our investments by extension. So I understand that over the last few weeks or so, many things have transpired to the point where it was hard trying to keep up with all the different news sources and all the different leakages. Hence, I would appreciate it if you like the smash button as I try to provide you a quick summary of what I know and what I understand. Firstly, to address the 3 clips that depicted the apocalypse of China, we can of course take it at face value, but since when is life so simple? For the situation regarding drones and robot dogs, there were comments that I found rather interesting, suggesting that if such a scenario would play out in America, people would never even think twice to shoot the drones down. In my humble opinion, of course, those drones are just an additional platform for PSA, which stands for Public Service Announcement, in case anyone in the public is not in tune with the radio or even their own televisions. Sure, the drones are definitely more in your face, but you don't go around shooting your TV just because you don't like the message, right? Side note, drones were used in Shanghai to deliver daily essentials to lock down neighbours to help their own community. So are you going to shoot those drones down too, carrying groceries and food? On the allegation regarding starvation, I was closely monitoring the situation at the start of the lockdown, and it was indeed horrendous. China had a good grasp of the entire pandemic situation for the last 12 to 18 months. So when they were hit again, especially in such a densely populated area, many things went haywire. I believe the clip was filmed at the start of the lockdown when many issues were not properly handled and essentially somebody had to pay the price, which resulted in this quote-unquote starvation. So presently though, if you actually bother to gain some ground knowledge from live streams or even connecting with people currently living in Shanghai, they got most of the kinks ironed out. So also, what's the fastest way to get attention? Be extremely dramatic, like my clickbait of course. So for people that keep claiming that CCP was really out there to starve people to death, please provide me with some numbers. I'm sure if you are able to get hold of such incredible and impeccable evidence of people shouting that they are starving, it wouldn't be too hard to get hold of instances where people actually died of starvation from the lockdown. Also, if the situation was really that bad, everybody should be fleeing out of China, especially those that are not in lockdown, because they might be next. Personally, I don't recall China instigating a full country lockdown where people are disallowed to travel or leave the country. Maybe the Chinese people is brainwashed, who knows. Next, moving on to the country's strategy to fight the pandemic. So to set the record straight, I, on a personal level, disagree with China's current zero-tolerance strategy. So I can understand the many contributing factors as to why they eventually took this path, but I think only time will tell who has the last laugh. So China is currently at a crossroad. So the first road is what the world is currently doing. Vaccinating your population with the American vaccine, open up and pay the inevitable price of losing certain fringes of your population. The second is what China is currently employing, where you keep your old strategy but with an unknown price and an unknown outcome. So presently though, we can only hope for the best, for the people of China and the wisdom of the government. So to give the government the benefit of the doubt, their official explanation is to really preserve the sanctity of life, and one more death is one too many in their eyes. So Chairman Xi did note that prevention and control work cannot be relaxed, and they have to adhere to the principle of people first and life first, and persistence is victory. So based on the first scenario, there is a fixed price that the country has to pay, and the estimated cost is to having deaths reaching to the north of 1 to 4 million based on extrapolation. Mind you, with a 1.3 billion population, they only have 4,000 deaths currently. Of course, we can discuss whether the numbers are legitimate or not, but it definitely instilled a level of confidence in the government's way of fighting the pandemic like nowhere else, at least for now. So there is a multitude of theories online. I'm trying to second guess why the Chinese government is still so stubborn in keeping their own strategy, ranging from political pride to inefficient vaccines, to big pharma complex, to campaign positioning, and the list goes on. So I'm not going to speculate here because ultimately there is no quote-unquote correct answer, and I believe the government will not tell us anyway. So at the end of the day, I just hope that whatever they are currently strategizing and committing to really puts the Chinese people first and to put the Chinese economy first. And besides, all the chattering around the posturing and their strategy are based on what is and what not. So let's judge them based on how they deliver, give them time to prove their worth to the world stage. So now, what does this mean for Chinese stocks by extension? Specifically, Alibaba, since most of you have vested interest in this company. So at first glance, lockdowns do seem good for a company like Alibaba, right? People are stuck at home, movements of the populations are heavily discounted, and there will be a huge shift in reliance on such platforms again. So just look at 2020. Look at how much growth Alibaba and their counterparts benefited from those times. On second look though, I'm more concerned about the overall outlook and strength of the economy. Currently, economists are predicting that the lockdown in Shanghai could reduce China's GDP by 3% in April, and based on estimations, Shanghai's monthly real income could drop by more than half. So the current situation in Shanghai is largely controlled. The worry is now amplified as the government's stance are made clear. What happens if more and more cities undergo a lockdown too, like Beijing today? So China's economy is heading towards a collapse if their prevention and control measures are not held tightly. Furthermore, based on my own anecdotal research, and just to emphasize it's purely anecdotal, the current broader job market sentiment in China is lackluster. We shall see if the Chinese government can move mountains again. So on a more exciting note though, the Chinese officials are not blind to how things are progressing in the country. Although they have kept their medium-term policy rates unchanged, the markets are expecting more easing measures to come in the coming quarters to essentially stimulate the economy. But let's not expect the money printer to just go brrr and giving out stimulus checks after stimulus checks. So the People's Bank of China did, however, lower the reserve requirement ratio for most banks by 25 basis points, for smaller banks by 50 basis points, to the lowest level since 2007. So rather than benchmarking how China's policy is going to differ from the rest of the world while everyone else is tightening, based on my own experience, the Chinese are only concerned about themselves. So they will do whatever it takes to benefit their own people and their own economy. So on another note, China has also recently nudged listed firms and investors to buy stocks to essentially help stabilize the Chinese market. So some of you were asking for my read of this situation. Simply put, this is just one example of common prosperity, isn't it? Get everyone on board as shareholders so that the government can push the markets higher. So this is classic manipulation right there, and it's so explicit. Clearly, people are still not comfortable with this. But like I always say, give it some time to play out and we'll see who is on the right side of this curve. So none of this is financial advice, by the way, and everything I'm saying is just my own opinion. So with that, I'll see you in the next video, but more importantly, I will see you on the moon. Goodbye!